One of the favorite tools in Write Out Loud is the bibliographer. If I click this button, you'll see that it brings up this window and it shows you a list of types of bibliographies that you can create. So for example, let's say I click on the book tab, and then there are several categories here. Why don't I click on one author? And what it does is it models what a one author bibliography should look like, and it can do that in either MLA or APA formats. Notice the change when I click on the two buttons. The student would click the new button and then create their own bibliography in this window using this as a guide. If the student needs extra support, they can click on the Use Wizard button, and then this window pops, and they can create the bibliography one step at a time just by clicking the next button, etc., until they're done. And as I always like to say, don't you wish you had that in college? So that is one more feature that's built into Write Out Loud. Another feature, and you might not consider this a feature, is the ability to change the foreground background colors. Different foreground background colors have been found to support students with different needs, different abilities. Very contrasty color combinations, such as black text against a yellow background, has been found to work well with those with attentional issues, whereas very neutral, pastel, toned down color combinations, specifically light blue background with black text, has been found to work well with those who are dyslexic. There's a lot of agreement on the color light blue, so that's something you might try. Let's go back to the standard white background, black text. In the middle here, you have several speech buttons. If I put the cursor at the beginning of the sentence and then click the speak button, it will speak the entire sentence. If I type another sentence, the button all the way over on the right repeats what was just read. It just read the second sentence. So when I click that, listen to what happens. Notice it did not read the first sentence. If I click the repeat button again, it just reads what was just read. If you want to hear the entire document, you click the button in the middle, which is a read all button. So if you had a lengthy document, say a paragraph, 2 paragraphs, 5, 10 paragraphs, whatever, you could click the read all button and it would read everything. Finally, if you have a student with a motoric disability, let's say they have difficulty using a mouse, and you did want to reposition the cursor at the beginning of the sentence, as I just did earlier, but they couldn't use a mouse, how would they do it? Well, you still have to use a mouse, but there's less clicking and dragging involved if you use these navigational buttons here. I'm going to click on this button here. Watch the cursor. You notice the cursor is at the end of the sentence by the question mark. If I click this button on the toolbar, the cursor now jumps to the beginning of the sentence. And then if I click the speech button, and click it again, and the cursor is now at the end, let's click this button, brings it to the beginning or to the end. You can see I can jump back and forth. I can jump to the next sentence by clicking this button. I can go back to the beginning by clicking this button. I can also highlight a sentence by clicking the third button, or if I click it a second time, it highlights that sentence. So those are some navigational tools that you might want to use. Under the speech pull-down menu, you also have several options. You'll notice that the default, I'll call your attention to this area, is to speak words and sentences. So you notice that when I type the word, it spoke the word. And then when I punctuate the sentence, it goes back and rereads the entire sentence. That's because the default is for it to speak both words and sentences. If you wanted to, you could turn speech off entirely just by selecting this. Sometimes students say that They don't want to hear the speech. They don't want to listen to the document until they're done. So this is Write Out Loud. It's a very simple word processor. It's not designed to be compared to a word processor such as Microsoft Word, which, as you know, is very powerful. As I like to say, there's beauty in simplicity, and this is a very nice tool.